Okay, I'm going to work through Chapter 2, Problem 25, and this is a conversion problem. Okay, it says write a program that converts degrees Fahrenheit to degrees Rankine, and they give you the formula for that. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is start Visual Studio. Okay, so I'm going to create a new project. Console application. And desktop, the location is my desktop. The solution name is just going to track your project name. So I'm going to call this one, I'm just going to put my last name here, underscore, and I'm going to say chapter. I'll just do 2, problem. Oh. And this will be like when you turn in assignments, you should follow this standard. Problem number 25. For like this chapter, I'm not worried about it too much, whether or not you follow this standard for the naming convention. But if it has your last name, the chapter, and the problem number, okay? But you don't have to do it. If you've already submitted the homework, you don't have to change it. Or if you already worked on it, you can wait till the next programming assignment to put them in the standard. Okay, then I'll say create. Click create. And here is it opens it up. Okay. So here's my comments. I'll just leave this like this. And this is essentially my template. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this part. Okay. And whether or not, you have these comments up here really doesn't matter too much. Although as we go further, we should put more information in here. For now, I'm just going to leave this. Okay. As I go along, I'll show you like how you should comment it. Okay, that's good enough for now. So include IO stream. It's good. And then I'm going to put in using name space std. And I'm going to just write this like this. Actually, I don't even need this line, so I'm going to get rid of it. Okay. All right. One more thing I'll put in here is system pause. And that's just so that when you execute it, it waits. It doesn't close the console. Okay. So this is what the program should look like right now. And, what I could do, actually, I'll put this in here. I'll just put a note in here. So it just says what this program does. This program converts degrees F to degrees Rankine to degrees 2 degrees R. Okay, that's good enough for now. All right, so then I have using namespace, and then I have system pause. Okay, so that's pretty good place to start from for any of your programs. And like I said, this comment right here, you should just describe what your program does. Oh, I should spell it right. Okay. All right. So now what I want to do is I actually want to go and create some variables. Okay. Now there are 2 variables we're going to need here. And the data types associated with these have to be what's called a floating type, and so that it basically supports values, fractional parts of a number, right? So double, and the 2 variables I'm going to need PF, which is temperature in Fahrenheit, and temperature R. Okay. You may or may not have used the same variable names as me. I'm going to call it, I'm going to say temperature, a little bit more, F. And I'll do the same thing here. This give me a little bit more. This is a little bit better naming convention, R. So now you would know what they are. Oh, temperature in Fahrenheit and temperature in Rankine. You could even put that in there if you want. How about this? So that should be pretty clear what they are. You may or may not have to put them, detail it all out, but I did it here just to show you. Okay. You could do temp F, temp R or something, as long as it has enough information where that if someone looks at the program later on, you can understand what these are, right? These variables. So these are just basically, these are the holders, or these are the variables where data would be stored in your program for each of these. Okay. All right. So the next step, what we want to do is we want to put something out to the screen so that the user knows kind of what this program is doing. So I'll say this, cout. There's my redirection arrows. And I'll just say this program converts from temperature in Fahrenheit to, in degrees Fahrenheit to degrees. Okay. So the first line should say essentially what this program is doing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this thing called end L. End L is just creating like another line, right? So even at this point, we can see how this works, right? Oh, it doesn't do much yet, but I'll do save all, and I'll run it. And still running. Oh, okay, it's just slow. Oh, okay. Looks like I got a spelling error, but this program converts, I'll fix this, converts from temperature in degrees Fahrenheit to degrees Rankine. Should pay more attention to what I type. Okay, that's better. Okay, so up to this point, that's all it does. It just displays that message. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to say cout. So this is the user has to enter the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so I'll write that. I'll say enter temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, now let's do it like this. And I won't put an end line here. That way it won't move down to the next line. Maybe I'll give myself a space. It really doesn't matter too much. And then I put a semicolon. Now what you're going to find is every line in C++ needs a semicolon at the end. Okay, so each line here. So this essentially is this one instruction or one line of code, and I put a semicolon in. Okay, that says to terminate that line and process it essentially. You could actually make this, like I could do this. Let's see. You could do something like this. We take this and put this down to the next line. That's perfectly fine. You could actually make it go across different lines. And how does it know, and then how does the compiler know that the instruction is done? Is with the semicolon. Okay? All right. So let's go. So that now what we want to do is actually do a cin where we read from the keyboard into that variable. So when you type something in, hit enter, it'll read it into this variable. Well, I've got two variables. One's called temperature Fahrenheit, and the other one is temperature Rankine. And the temperature Rankine one is going to be my output essentially. Okay, so I'll do cin, and here is where I put the variable name. Now, if I start to type this when I'm using Visual Studio, it has what's called IntelliSense, and it will, once you start to type it in, it'll give you the options, right? So it makes things a little bit easier. So now I see the temperature Fahrenheit here. So I just click that, double click it, and then now it will use that to read it in. It'll now substitute that variable name in there because I defined it here. This is the declaration statement. Okay. All right. So now it reads it in. Now what we want to do is perform the actual calculation. Okay. So on the left-hand side, and you have to do it this way, where you have to have, when you're creating a when you perform an operation, where the value is actually stored has to show up on the left-hand side. So you have to do it in this fashion. So the output of this, or the result of this calculation, here's my temperature Rankine, is going to be equal to, and if you look in your text, the formula actually says, TF equals TR minus 459.67 degrees Rankine. So we're actually going kind of in the other direction. So we need to add 459.67 to each side. Okay, so temperature in Fahrenheit plus 459.67. Okay, so now that's the calculation. So here's my calculation. All right, which is pretty apparent. I'll just write it. I'll put a comment in here. Sometimes, the calculation might be a little bit more involved. You might need to describe it. Here, I'll just show you what you would do. You'd say calculation. I'll say, how about conversion calculation? Something to describe the calculation, okay? Really probably don't need to put a comment in here because it's pretty obvious what this thing is doing from just looking at the calculation. Now that we have variable names that are pretty clear, we see that it's it's easy to understand what this is doing. Okay, so we prompted the user. Well, sorry, we gave the user some information. We prompted the user. The user would enter a number in here, and then a calculation would be performed. And now what we would want to do is we want to display the result of that. Okay, so we would say cout, and notice the directions of my redirection operator. It goes like here. Here's the text, or here's the string, and it says send it to cout, or send it to display. In this case, you'll see the direction of the arrows the other way, which means come essentially from the keyboard and read it into this variable. Okay, so now we'll say temperature, and you know how detailed you want to make this. What I'll say is temperature how about this? I'll do the number, so I'll put the variable in here, which is temperature in Fahrenheit, and then I'll do this equals, so I'm going to make this as part of my string. Oh, don't want to forget this. Equals temperature, oh, sorry, degrees. So this is my variable, so what's going to happen, it will substitute the number in that I entered in here. Will show up right here when it just gets displayed. F equals, and then this, I'll put this as my Rankine, temperature Rankine. And like this, and then it will be degrees. First R. Okay, and then I'm just going to put in this end line. Okay, so for this program, that's pretty much it for the conversion program, right? So here's our preamble for all our programs. Here's my integer main, which is essentially, it's called a function. It's the main function, which we'll cover functions a little bit later, but all you really need to know right now is, you put in your code. Here's like, you need this int main, open paren, close paren, and then your open curly brace. Okay. Then here's where I'm actually specifying, and I'm creating or declaring these variables, meaning that they can change in my program if I want to change them. Double means store those as floating point type or numbers that can have fractional parts. Okay, and I can put a comma between them to mean I'm creating 1, then 2. Okay, and then semicolon at the end. Here's my output just to tell the user what this program does. Here's my output to actually give the user some information. I'm like, oh, okay, what do I do next? And you'll see when we run it, it's going to actually just wait for the user to enter in this value here. Then I perform the calculation, the conversion calculation, and then I display the result. Okay, so let's go and run it. So this is, I'll click this green button to go through the whole process, building this and then loading it into memory and then executing it. So enter temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. If I put 0 here, then I'll see what will happen is it'll come up to be 459. And there it is. Oh, and I'll do one more thing here. 0 degrees Fahrenheit equals 459.67 degrees Rankin. I'm just going to put one more space here to make it look a little better. Okay. Okay. And that, let me run it. All right, so 0, and there it is, 459. Okay, and you can run some other values and check it. All right, so now that's pretty much it for this program. And you can look at the solutions and you'll see it's similar to this, but that's basically what the process is, you know, to go through and write the code in this chapter. And you'll find that we're going to be doing this same sort of structure all the way through, okay, this class. Okay, so what you need to do now is you find that folder, and that's why I put it on the desktop. Double click on it and go inside here. Okay, so here's my program. It's more chapter 3, the CPP file, .cpp file. This is the file that you want to submit, okay, through Blackboard. All right, the CPP files, those are the ones you want to submit through Blackboard. So you would take this, and when it prompts you for a file, you put that in, okay? And you can send multiple files, so you could wait till you do all the programs if you want, or if you want to send them one at a time. It's a little easier for me if you send them all together, okay? But that's the way you do it. So when you go and create the program, just make sure you put it on the desktop, then you'll be able to see where this is. So, but the CPP file is the one that I want, okay? .cpp, that's the only one I want. All right, and that is about it.